And we're live with the Post Status Happiness Hour. Today, I have two wonderful guests that I have had the pleasure of meeting in person and go back. I feel like we go back a long ways. Like I literally don't remember when we met because I've just known you forever. So, although Carol, the first time I think I met you in person was in Phoenix last year, but
Phoenix.
like I've known you for such a long time. But anyway, we're going to talk about press conf today, and I'm here with my guests Raquel and Carol. And I would love for you to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about what you do, you know, WordPressy stuff and that kind of thing. And then also we're going to do a deep dive into press conf, how you thought about it, where it came from, what your hopes and dreams are, and all the things. So Raquel, we'll start with you.
Hey everybody, I'm Raquel, and I just recently, not quite finally, but formally, the community manager for Elegant Themes, and just started my own biz.
Yes.
So yeah, I came into WordPress in 2012 and had an WordPress agency, and then was the community manager for Elegant Themes, and yeah, started my own conference consultancy. And one of my biggest first steps with starting this business was to launch Press Conf. So the resurrection of what was Pressnomics, essentially revival, however we want to look at it. But that's what I do now.
And I pinged you on Slack the day that you had made all these decisions. I had no idea. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to write about Press Conf on WP Wonder Women. And you're like, oh my God, that's like such karma,
Yeah.
or I can't remember what you said. Like it was, so we got on a huddle and we talked for like half an hour, and it was so cool. It was so good to see you, so excited.
That was a total sign. That was, I mean, it's a scary thing to do. And you and I share a love of Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Michelle, and I have this huge collection in my room. My room looks like a teenager's room, but
yeah, my bathroom is the same way.
Yeah. So I literally just got off the call with the company, and then I see just Wonder Woman and Press Conf and me all in the same sentence, and I was like, just the tears.
I love it. And in that same issue of WP Wonder Woman, I also tagged Carol. So Carol, introduce yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Carol Stambaugh, and I am a agency owner. I am a co-owner of an agency called RadiateU. And Jeremy Saxey and myself run an agency where we're doing mainly web hosting, maintenance, support, and we're really moving and focusing into more, not as much support, but growth plans, and looking at not just a WordPress site's health, but where are the opportunities, and then really focusing in with clients on the opportunities and maximizing those. So that's a little bit about what I do. I've been doing WordPress. I quit my regular job in 2010 to go in, and at the time was just a freelancer. And then Jeremy and I joined forces in 2014. So I've been an agency owner and co-owner alongside my business partner now for 10 years, which is kind of exciting. I mean, oftentimes business partnerships don't last longer than marriages, and we jokingly say that we've even lasted longer than the average marriage. So it's great. He's a good business partner. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
and other things I've done with WordPress, I am the Arizona WordPress meetup chair, where we have several different locations, and there's several satellites, but I kind of in the main group, or the main leader for that whole group, and have been doing that again since 2011. And then every WordCamp Phoenix, with the exception of the very first one and the second one, I've been on the organizing team for. So I've been on the organizing team starting in 2012, and I've been on every one since then. So I'm definitely a fan. I'm definitely huge. I have a lot of interest and a lot of passion and hope, and I want this WordPress community to succeed. And Press Conf was just the thing we were looking for at the time we were looking for it. And when Raquel started talking to me, or she was talking to just a small group of us, and I think I probably was the first one that said, I'm in. And
I love it.
So
That's awesome. Well, I was at WordCamp Phoenix in 2023, and I have to say, you all made the whole thing so physically accommodating for people with wheelchairs and other uses. So I can only imagine that PressConf will also be very accommodating that way. I say that with hope in my voice because I haven't bought my ticket yet, but I'm planning to be there. So I'm just waiting to see if my company's going to pay for it or if I am. That's the only thing that's different.
Yeah.
You know, why pay if they will? That's all I'm saying. So, but I'm very much looking forward to it. So I'm going to bring up my screen here, and let me just take the branding off so we can actually see the whole thing. There we go. Let's talk a little bit about, first of all, I've never been to Tempe. Is it near Phoenix? Is that the airport I fly into? Okay.
Yes.
So
super easy. By the way, I'll give a plug. Our airport, unlike some metropolitan airports, they're way out. Ours is very central, and there is a connection, a little train connection from the airport to the light rail, and the light rail is right across the street from the hotel. But to make it even better, the hotel, part of what's included with the hotel is free shuttle. And so hotel shuttle will just pick you up at the hotel. And it's what, 10, 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes in traffic from the airport. So we're talking about easy in, very easy in.
That's awesome. I love that. So did I say it right? Is it Tempe? How do you say it?
No, correct.
Tempe.
First
okay. The first one. Okay, very good. Just want to make sure.
The home of Arizona State University, which is where I went. Good. I love that part.
I often hear that local people pronounce their places differently than everybody else does, so make sure I'm saying it right, you know.
Spot on the very first time.
Sweet. Yeah, we have a town very near where I live called Charlotte. It's spelled Charlotte.
Okay.
And we have a Chi-Li, New York, which is spelled chili. So I always just want to make sure.
Wow.
You never know.
Have a Prescott, Arizona, but everybody says Prescott.
Prescott, yeah. like it's a press kit, yeah.
Yeah,
like biscuit.
Yeah, exactly. So Carol, we were talking a little bit before we actually went live that this has been in the works for quite a while. When did you first think about this? I know Raquel, Carol was the first person you asked to join. So like, where did this kernel of an idea come from? And how long ago did you actually start thinking about planning it?
Well, I mean, so Carol and I both went to almost every single Pressnomics of the yesteryears, from like 2012 to 2019. And we're both on the WordCamp Phoenix team for a long time. Carol's like my partner in crime. She's been like a mentor in my life. So I say a lot of this and it just includes her. But I was really getting the itch now, I guess like a year and a half ago, maybe right around WordCamp EU in Athens, which you were at, Michelle. Yep. And it just started to hear it from the community. Just started to hear like really at the beginning, kind of like, we just want Pressnomics back. And then from then till like last spring, it started to morph to like, we need something. We need a business of WordPress event back. Right. And then just hearing here and there from others like, oh my gosh, Raquel, if anyone could do it, you could do it. And that really pumped me up and, you know, gave me reason. And then in fact, you were on the mastermind call, Michelle, for community, you know, for WordPress community. And we all kind of were sharing the same sentiment that like, that we need some sort of business of WordPress. And for me, a longtime WordCamp organizer, Carol, longtime WordCamp organizer, Michelle, you as well. Like I didn't see how it could work. And so it just really solidified that the way this is going to happen is to make it happen. And so then I just immediately contacted Josh and Sally Strebel, who were the OG originators of Pressnomics, and just basically asked for their blessing because, you know, this isn't Pressnomics. This is different, but it's still in the spirit of. And I really wanted to make sure I honored them and gave them respect, and also kind of like this idea that like that it has this blessing. I mean, I know that's a little the woo-woo spiritual side, but it and maybe that's from my upbringing, but I just own it. That was important to me, and we did. They gave us the 2019, and here we are.
I love that. Well, when I started this podcast, the Post Status Happiness Hour, actually it was because Doc Popular was no longer doing the Torque social hour, and so there was this like void where that used to be, where we talk about issues and we talk about events and we talk about projects like this. And so I actually went to him first and said, I'd like to do this, but I don't want to step on your toes. And he's like, you have my blessing, have fun with it. So I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I think there's good karma in that too,
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's been a while. It's been in the works. It isn't something that like last week you went, hey, let's do a conference. How is it different than a WordCamp? Because I'm sure it is, but I'm sure there's some similarities too. Because like conferences are conferences. Let's face that, right? Like, I mean, I've been to school board conferences that I'm like, oh, this is a little bit like a WordCamp because like a conference is a conference. But how is it different than WordCamp?
Yeah, so one of the biggest ways I differentiate it off the bat from a WordCamp is that WordCamps are for the user majority and also such an amazing platform to help up and coming, never spoken before potential amazing speakers. And that's all good and grand, and I love it. I very much love it. But what we get at a WordCamp is a lot of hallway trackers, like, people who don't ever go to sessions, and they use that time to have meetings with each other, and kind of do some other work. And so Press Conf is for the hallway track. So that there is essentially no hallway track at a press conf because these sessions are for those who would be in the hallways. And I'm very careful to say this because I don't want to take away from how amazing it is and what a gift it is to give a first-time speaker a platform to grow and to learn. But we had a deficit, right? Like, so it's yes, and it's like, yes, we have WordCamps, and yes, it serves this demographic, and I love it. But we were seeing this deficit for serving those who ended up in the hallway track at a WordCamp. So that's one of the biggest, I guess you can say, ways to categorize and differentiate. But something that you would see is there's only one track, and we're all together in this one track at a press conference.
So if you skip it, it's obvious.
Yes. And these are not
Carol.
recorded. They're not recorded. This is very different than a WordCamp because we're not talking about things. We're not talking about how to make a custom post type. We're talking about people, entrepreneurs who have built a business that can be very personal. There's very personal stories oftentimes behind that because entrepreneurs struggle. They have their, that's how they build their business. And so what we want is this to be a place where we're hearing the real unfiltered stories of other people who may have gone before us or those who have experienced a real challenging time and can share for others. Those kind of conversations are not really ones you want to have recorded and floated out there. And so we are going to be very clear with our attendees too, that no recording, please. You absolutely, if it's okay with the presenters, they can take pictures, maybe even quote them, but we want this session to be a space where the presenter can feel like they're not having to filter and where those in the audience just get a really exceptional, amazing experience. And you have to be in the room where it happens. Raquel says that,
Hamilton.
and exactly, we're both Ham fans, and so exactly, you want to be in the room where it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I like to refer to some things in our space as like gap fillers, right? So like I created WP speakers because it's hard to find speakers for things sometimes, especially like your monthly WordPress meetups and things like that. Marcus Burnett has created the WP world, which, oh my gosh, like he introduces new stuff all the time, right? Like, and it's like, well, why do you need that if you've got a profile on WP.org? Because it's added to what's on WP.org, right? So there's so much more there. I see this as being one of those gap fillers too. Like it's not like, well, I have to go to that or WordCamps. You can do both for sure. Which brings me to my next point, which is it's not free and it's not cheap which I am so proud of y'all for doing, quite honestly. Right? Like, because I'm constantly preaching that when you do work like that, you should be paid for it. And when you're pulling something together that's this big, you should be like, how do you hold a conference about making money if you aren't also making money? That's like, what are they, a non sequitur? Is that what you call that? Like, I love using big words. I think I used it right. But how did you arrive at the price point? Like, I mean, it costs money to put on these kinds of events. And yes, I think you've got sponsors and things like that. But I'm hoping that you're also putting a little bit of money in your pockets.
Yeah. I mean, so all of us, again, have worn the WordCamp, even lead organizer hat, all of us, and right here, the three of us. Mm-hmm. So, and there's definitely this passion and this love for it. And I've often, I think I'm now kind of recovering, but I had the label, so has Carol, of serial volunteer. And, you know, and
I've never been accused of that.
And I mean, I think the three of us are in good company, but you hit a point where you're like, this is a lot of work, and we've cried and sweated and bled over it, and we've loved it every step of the way. But at some point, you also get to the realization that I got to start to, you know, to put money and value to it.
There needs to be an ROI on all of your work, for sure.
And not that there's not, because even like, I look back at the last decade of, you know, ish of planning and organizing WordCamps, and some of the most amazing humans and friends I've made, you know, and relationships and the ROI there. So, and even this team for Press Conf, half of them came from my, the WordCamp Phoenix team. So there is ROI, and it progresses without getting, you know, we all know the crazy drama that we're going through right now, but it progresses the fundamental idea of open source software. And so I'm very pro that. I'm very pro, but this now is, you know, the opportunity to, again, have yes and. So that was, you know, kind of like a little backstory to where we got to the pricing. So there's a little bit of pricing of Pressnomics back in 2019, which was now almost 6 years ago. And then
pre-COVID, as they say.
Exactly.
Right. Big difference.
Big difference. And I mean, at the same time, I didn't want to, like, you know, because we all know tech conferences could be $1,200, you know, and not even including flights and hotels. And so I was definitely not trying to, like, you know, exploit our community by any means. But even just looking at where we were 2019 to now, and what's a good, you know, not terrible amount to increase. I will say that the team had to convince me to go higher.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah, like I'm over here like, I don't know, guys. Like, it could be. I still got that WordCamp hat on. I still wanted to, but you know, and that's the point. The point is like, we don't want all the bulk to be on the sponsors for this event, like how WordCamp is. The bulk of the financial needs are on the shoulders of our sponsors, which I'm okay with. But for this, we don't need that many. You know, we have room for 8 regular 8-foot table booths and a backdrop. So this isn't a trade show. It's not a WordCamp US, Europe, Asia. There's no 20 by 20. So we don't, and so it's not about necessarily a sponsor coming in and doing all this like sponsory things, because the beauty of it is our sponsors get to come in and actually be part of the action. Because it's not a foot traffic-y heavy event. Not that there's not going to be foot traffic, there will, but you know, we're all going into sessions together, you know, so it's like, you don't need to. So then there's not as much pressure on a sponsor. At the same time, we only have, I mean, we have community sponsors. We have as many as people want to sponsor. We only have 8 spots for a booth. And then we have just a couple of parties, and really, so we don't need a terrible amount of sponsorship. And that's the whole idea, is that now we're all kind of sharing the load, you know? There.
Yeah, I love that. No, I think it's great.
And the sponsors are part of it too.
Yeah.
They're not, I mean, you know, in a regular one, sponsors stay in the sponsor hall and people go to session. Well, that's not going to happen. The sponsors are in session with us,
Right.
because they are part of the group of professionals driving the WordPress economy. So there's not this distinction of you're this and you're that. We
Right.
are together.
Remember, there's no hallway track. They won't be there.
No hallway track.
I think that's great. Now, I know that you're not doing a regular call for speakers either. So you're not just kind of stopgapping and like, gosh, fingers crossed that the right kinds of people apply. Have you like tapped people on the shoulder? Have you asked people? Like, how are you going about doing that, if I could ask?
Take it away, Carol.
So this is very different also than a WordCamp. I love working with speakers at a WordCamp. I've been doing that for, I don't know how long. That's been my role. And so that's obviously where I'm really helping Raquel with. We did not do a call for speakers because what we wanted is to set the vibe. We want what we want, and we kind of know that. And so we identified the people that we think are going to be incredible speakers for our event, and we tapped them on the shoulder and we say, can we have a phone call and can we talk? And we have this discussion with them. We tell them a little bit about the conference. We tell them what kind of vibe and mood we're trying to give and what we would like to see from our speakers. And we say, do you have something that can fit this? And then we work together. So it is not someone who has a speech and wants to pitch it to us. This is a very collaborative process of working with these speakers to make sure that it really does have a cohesive feel and that we are bringing together the best event. And I will say, doing speakers for WordCamps always hard because you're having to read through all the proposals and all of this. I almost think that what we're doing now is even harder because we are doing one-on-ones with every single person. And sometimes we're actually coming back and we're bringing groups together and discussing ideas. So the programming of this conference is very intentional. And we are really designing this so that it will be just worth it for everyone to be there. So yeah, that's how we're handling it. And if it feels like we're getting speakers out slowly, that's why we actually have some speakers, but we are making sure that we have these conversations so that things are like I said, are cohesive. And so, you'll be hearing those speaker announcements very soon. And when you do, everyone's going to be even more excited and they're going to want to come. So
I love that. No, and that is exciting.
Yeah, we're not done tapping shoulders by any means.
No, we're not.
And we are experimenting with a very special call for speakers for a very special session. So that's a teaser.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Well, and when you have one track, so it's not like you have 5 tracks over 3 days. So you have to be very specific because every session counts. There's no like, well, that doesn't fit me, so I'm just going to hit the hallway track. So it makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what is your target attendance? How many people can you accommodate? What are you hoping for? Like, I'm not asking for trade secrets or anything, but what's your target? How many people would you like to see attend this?
Traditionally, Pressnomics has always been capped right around 200. And so we like that, we're comfortable with that. We have decided to allow for a bit more and cap it no more than 300. And the reason why is because it's an intimate sort of conference. It's not a flagship WordCamp, which could be 1,600 to 3,000. It's more intimate, and you are given the opportunity to rub shoulders with the who's who. And I say that very respectfully. You could, one thing I love about our community is that anybody could be a who's who.
For sure.
And everyone. It's kind of like this old idea of, the land of opportunity is that we all can, if we decide to, kind of raise up in the ranks of reputation within WordPress, and that it's not just ran by like certain individuals. So that being said, this gives you access to rub shoulders with those individuals. And the probability that you'll run into them when you're a 200 to max 300 person event is higher than a 1,600, 3,000 person event. And we're all together. And so the idea is that you're all in the same areas all together, and it's intimate and it's serendipitous. So I know, like, I've been hearing that, especially with like sponsors. They're like, well, how many? And I'm like, well, get ready, brace yourself, 200 to 300. And they're like, oh, no. But it's magic. It's 200 to 300 of decision makers, which sponsors love, you know. And,
absolutely.
So that's pretty much where we're landing.
I have kind of a funny personal story. I shared this whenever we got our team together, and we the first meeting, Raquel asked everyone who had been to a Pressnomics to talk about their experience and why it was so special and the magic. And so my story was, it was the very first Pressnomics, which, if I remember right, was 2012. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, 2012. And I was fairly new to the WordPress community. I had quit my job in 2010 and gotten involved in 2011. So I was fairly new, but I was already at that time going to lead WordCamp Phoenix 2013. And so I came to Pressnomics going, you know, gosh, I don't know any of these people. I'm looking for speakers. I'm looking for, you know, so I just kind of came as a newbie with my eyes wide open and not even really understanding or knowing who was who. So we left the hotel we were at the time, wandered over to Santan Brewery. The old Pressnomics people will remember Santan Brewery. And I just happened to follow this group of friendly looking people in the door. And that friendly group of people included Troy Dean, Alex King, Chris Lemma, and Kareem Marici, yes. And I sat right across from Troy, and Troy and I talked the whole time. And
that's a who's who right there, that list.
And I did not even know any of these. Well, and to be fair, this was 2012, and so some of these people weren't who's who yet. I remember Troy and I were talking because he was at the time doing video user manuals. That was the plugin that he had, and he had this idea of a coaching business that he wanted to do. And I remember talking with him about that. Oh my goodness, you know? And so, yeah, that's my magic story of being able to come in and serendipitously get to see and meet these people who I now know truly were and are the movers and shakers in our WordPress world. So, yeah.
I love that.
I do want to just add one thing too. Everybody is welcome.
Yes.
Carol's a good example of, like, she wasn't yet like this like business owner necessarily, or like anything more than a freelancer. Very much this conference is for you as well.
Absolutely.
It's not the exclusive club.
You can be the little wide-eyed person like I was that comes in, and you can meet and have discussions with these awesome people. Just the same way.
And it seems to me like an event like this, those people that you look up to that have really built something, the people who haven't been there yet are the ones who are learning. Well, how did they do that? So it makes perfect sense for, if you haven't achieved that, whatever status you think that is, you are the person that should be attending this event. So it's not just the two of you. We have quite a few people. I tried to get as much on the screen as possible. So Raquel and Carol, you are joined by some very amazing people as well. So can you just tell us, like, who else is part of this and maybe what they're doing?
Yeah. So I'll start with WordCamp Phoenix peeps. I had already kind of intimately shared with the WordCamp Phoenix team of my idea of doing this. And so when it did come to fruition, I definitely, was like, who wants to come? But like Carol, even though like Carol didn't have a choice, even though she beat me to it, she still didn't have a choice. But like,
you're doing it, Carol. That's all there is to it.
But Dave, who came on a little bit later, Dave Ryan, he works for Bluehost, and he's battled on and off cancer. And I wanted to be respectful of his time, and thankfully he's been doing really well lately. And so he definitely came on board just recently, and he's been taking care of our site, and he is I mean, Dave, like the three of us, me, Carol, Dave, have always kind of been this trio together. So like, I'm just so grateful. Yeah. But I mean, everybody has some sort of clout here. Nathan Atkinson, who has long been an organizer for WordCamp Phoenix, and he takes care of budget, and he's amazing. He keeps me on track. I am crazy. I jump off the walls. It's hard to keep me in my chair and to not have these wide-eyed ideas. And so like Nathan is like very grounding for me. And then next to him, Nathan B. Weller was my manager at Elegant Themes for the years that I was there. And he and I have kept a relationship going. And so he's coming on to help with marketing. So I'm very grateful for him. And then Brian Richards and Matt Madero's kind of the same thing. It's like, just had earlier conversations with both of them. And they're like, I want to help. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. It's like the dream team here. So, that's basically us. It's lean. It doesn't need to be much bigger, it's really just filling in the gaps and everybody's shining at what they're excellent at. So, yeah.
I love that. Now let's look really quickly at tickets. So we have, I think, reasonable prices, right? So we have the VIP All Access, which is everything, and then general admission as well, which really the price is pretty close to each other, $100 difference. Yeah. And everybody can be a VIP. Like if everybody wants access, they can get that one. There's not a certain number that's reserved for that.
No, the only difference is the fun day. So one thing that was really cool about Pressnomics, and we wanted to keep that aspect going, is a third day fun day. So 2 days of sessions, really, really great sessions. And then the third day of either golf or not golf. And we kind of have this little like funny little thing going with that because nobody on the team is a golfer except for Matt Maderos. So like, we were cracking up because we're like, I know everyone demands golf. And so yes, there will be golf, but there's always traditionally been a not golf option too. So we are finalizing those details and we'll announce, but that third day is really just a day to take everything that you've done and like your brains and your gears spinning all up in your brain and working hard. And then any relationships you might have built or for the first time, or even just continuing, all to take that on that Saturday and just have fun with each other. Nice. Really, yeah. I mean, a lot of the golfers, they all have all these stories that they loved when they golfed, and so we definitely don't want to not take that away from them.
Right.
We're over here like, what is golf? Like,
I think I did putt back in high school, but as a non-golfer, I will not be on the greens that day. I will be with the other non-golfers.
Yeah.
And we have some great plans in the works. Stay tuned. We don't want to ruin surprises, but we've got some fun stuff.
That's really the only difference. They're the same. You don't have to do the fun day, but I would highly encourage everybody because it really is just fun and chill.
Yeah,
it's a great end to, we hope, a very deep, valued, and somewhat intense conference. And then at the end, you just solidify those relationships.
Yeah. So it's April 23rd to 26th. So if you live someplace like I do in the Great North, it's much warmer in Arizona at that time of year than it is in Rochester, New York. We've had May. I mean, we've had snow into May here before.
Right.
So
wow.
I will be grateful to get someplace warm. And is there a deadline by which are you going to stop ticket sales at some point? Obviously, if you hit your your goal or you hit the 300, but will there be a point in time when like only up to 2 weeks before or anything like that, or people are worried?
We haven't hit that. We haven't decided that yet. We actually haven't even done much marketing other than some tweets and a pre-holiday sale, so all of that is still coming. And especially once speakers get announced and like the fun day activities, all that get announced. But we'll assess it. Right now, everybody's safe. We definitely have sold quite a bit of tickets already. But we're not going to sell out tomorrow. So everybody's safe today.
Right.
But we'll assess and we'll definitely keep everybody posted if that is the case.
And I saw that you can still inquire about sponsorship. So do you still have a few spots left for sponsors?
Yeah, well, we have unlimited community sponsors. If anyone
Okay.
wants to just have, that it's a little bit of the same as a WordCamp, only we recognize that some people just want to sponsor and get their name on the board, essentially. So we do have unlimited amount of those. Booths, like I said, we're maxed out at 8. So some of those are available still. And then the add-ons. And the fun part about this press conf is that we get to go have a little fun with branding even further. So like lanyards, hotel key cards, things like that. We looked into elevator wraps, but the venue wouldn't allow it. So no elevator wraps, but still.
Not this time.
Yeah. So lanyards are a big deal, and the hotel key cards. And there's a few others so there's some really fun ways to sponsor still. But yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Is there anything else you want to mention that I've forgotten to ask?
I feel like there's so many things. Do you have
Sure. A lot of people have been asking the question about, given the current state of everything that's going on, what's that going to be like? Some people have even asked, well, which side are you on? And Raquel very, very appropriately says we're on the side of WordPress. We're on WordPress's side. We're on the community side. We want WordPress to succeed. And so everyone's welcome at this event. We have automaticians who are already scheduled to speak. And we have people who work from WP Engine who are at possibilities of speaking. And so it is just, there is no one that's not welcome to this conference. Nice. And we are, there may be some discussions among people about it, but this conference is not going to be focused around that. And it's really important to know this was in the works long before. It just happened. We happened to go live 3 days before the closing talk at WordCamp US. And so we became known at the same time that the everything exploded, and it's far beyond this issue. This issue is happening now, and it's a great time for the community to get together and to come together and think about the future of WordPress. But we were already going to do it anyway, so this is not the cause. This is just oh great, well, we're gonna, we're here, we're doing this anyway.
So if people are interested in learning more, they just have to go to pressconf.events. So it's not .com, it's .events. You can buy your tickets there. I didn't think to look. Is there a contact form if people have questions? Would they? Okay, great. And they can always, I know a lot of us are reachable through various social media and different Slack channels and things like that. I would probably Slack you, but but if people are connected to you that way, they can always reach out through other social channels and then also through the website, correct? Okay.
Yeah. One logistical bonus too is the hotel room block. The hotel, everything's all together. You stay at the hotel, the conference is at the hotel. It's right there. It's really accessible. It's such a cool place. Like cheaper than most of the room blocks that we get for WordCamp US or anything. Like it's like seriously reasonable. So that's awesome. And they allow you to roommate it up if anybody is curious about that. So
nice.
Don't be shy. Check out the room block there.
And for those who haven't been to Pressnomics, this particular hotel is very well suited for a conference like this because there's so much open courtyard space, and of course at that time of the year it's really nice, and you'll just see people there's so many places for people to gather and just talk. And so it really is a place you want to stay at the hotel because that's where everyone's going to be, and that's where people will gather, and you don't want to miss those in between times whenever you just have the opportunity. So, and the hotel's gorgeous. It's lovely. It's so nice.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I promise I will be registered as soon as I know where we're registered, how I'm registering. I will look forward to seeing everybody there. And if I do have questions, I know how I'm reaching out to you, but everybody else, If you don't know how to reach out, go to pressconf.events and you can get all the information there, and you can buy your ticket and make sure you go for the VIP. Like, who doesn't want to have a fun day at the end, for sure?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
well,
Yeah.
I thank you both so much for being here, for taking the time out of your busy days to join us at the Post Status Happiness Hour. I am very excited about everything you're doing, and congratulations on launching such a really amazing event. This is the last Post Status Happiness Hour for 2024, because I'm not going to try to push one in. I'm not going to do one next week, and I'm not doing it Christmas Day. So I will be back with Post Status Happiness Hours starting again in January. So we'll see everybody then. And in the meantime, happy holidays if you celebrate. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.